Welcome everyone to Deny Delay Depose, Health Over Wealth. It's been a heavy few weeks, hasn't it?
Absolutely. The situation in Los Angeles, with the ICE raids and the military deployment, it's a powder keg. And Newsom's speech, calling it an assault on democracy, feels pretty accurate.
I think assault on democracy is a bit much, frankly. We have laws, they need to be enforced. And when local authorities can't or won't, the federal government has a role to play. The protests were getting out of hand, weren't they?
Were they, though? Newsom claims they had it under control. And even if they were, is militarizing the streets really the answer? We're talking about traumatizing entire communities, arresting dishwashers and seamstresses. It just feels excessive. And all this makes me think, if only that same level of aggressive intervention were applied to fixing our broken healthcare system.
Exactly. It's about priorities. It's easier to deploy troops than to tackle the deep-seated issues that lead to this kind of unrest in the first place. And that, in my view, ties directly into the Mangione case. He's a symptom of a system that ignores people until they're driven to extremes.
But are we really saying Mangione's actions are justified? Violence is never the answer, no matter how flawed the system. And this knee-jerk reaction to blame everything on the system, it's simplistic.
No one's justifying violence, but ignoring the context is equally dangerous. Think about those bullet casings engraved with Deny, Defend, Depose. It speaks to a profound sense of injustice, a feeling that the system is actively working against you. And where does that frustration go? Where does that desperation lead?
Right. And that's where mental health professionals could and should be playing a more proactive role. Not just after something terrible happens, but in addressing the root causes of this societal anger and despair. We need therapists and social workers embedded in communities, providing preventative care, addressing trauma, and advocating for systemic change.
That sounds great in theory, but who's going to pay for it? Mental health care is already underfunded and inaccessible for many. And let's be honest, community-based programs often struggle with effectiveness and sustainability. You know, the cost implications of really shifting the mental health landscape are significant.
But what's the cost of not addressing it? We're seeing it play out in real time with the rise of extremism, the increasing polarization, and even incidents like the Mangione case. We pour billions into policing and military intervention, but what if we invested a fraction of that into mental health support and community building? It's about shifting the focus from reaction to prevention.
Yes, and look at the car plowing through the protest in Chicago. A direct result of heightened tensions, of people feeling unheard and disregarded. Mental health professionals equipped to de-escalate conflict, mediate disputes, and foster empathy could have been on the front lines, working to prevent that from happening.
Okay, but even with mental health professionals present, you can't control every individual's actions. There will always be people who are prone to violence or who make terrible decisions, regardless of the support systems in place. Some people are just bad actors.
Sure, but aren't we as a society responsible for creating an environment that minimizes the likelihood of those bad actors emerging? A system that values human well-being, that provides opportunities for everyone to thrive, that addresses systemic inequalities? That's the kind of environment that breeds resilience and reduces desperation.
It's about moving upstream. Instead of just patching up the damage after the flood, we need to reinforce the levees, address the climate change contributing to the rising waters, and ensure everyone has access to higher ground. In this case, healthcare is the levee and ICE raids are the climate change. A truly radical healthcare shift.
I still think there's an element of personal responsibility that's being overlooked here. We can't expect the government or mental health professionals to solve all of society's problems. Individuals need to take accountability for their own actions and choices.
Of course, personal responsibility is important, but it's a lot harder to take responsibility when you're struggling to survive, when you're facing systemic barriers, when you feel like the world is against you. We need to create a level playing field, a system that actually supports people in taking responsibility for their lives.
Exactly. And that's where the role of mental health professionals needs to expand. They need to be advocates, not just therapists. They need to be involved in shaping policy, challenging systemic injustices, and demanding a more equitable society. The Mangione case should light a fire under all of us.
All right, but how do we make that happen in a realistic, practical way? We can't just wave a magic wand and create a perfect system. What specific, actionable steps can we take to improve the healthcare system and integrate mental health more effectively?
First, we need to expand access to affordable mental health care. That means increasing funding for community mental health centers, training more mental health professionals, and ensuring that mental health care is included in all insurance plans. Parity, really.
Yes, and we need to destigmatize mental health. We need to create a culture where seeking help is seen as a sign of strength, not weakness. That means public awareness campaigns, educational programs in schools, and open conversations about mental health in our communities.
Okay, I can get behind that. But how do we pay for all of this? I mean, taxes are already high and there's a lot of competing demands for public funding.
We need to reevaluate our priorities. We're spending trillions on defense, on tax cuts for the wealthy, on propping up failing industries. What if we redirected some of that money towards investing in human capital, in building a healthier, more equitable society? What is the cost of another army tank versus proactive mental health care for the masses?
Exactly. We need to challenge the notion that healthcare is a commodity, a privilege reserved for those who can afford it. Healthcare is a human right. Everyone deserves access to the care they need, regardless of their income or social status. Universal healthcare, single payer, these are not radical ideas, they're common sense.
But those systems have their own problems, right? Long wait times, limited choices, bureaucratic inefficiencies. I mean, are we really sure that switching to a completely different system is the answer?
No system is perfect, but the current system is demonstrably failing millions of people. And other countries have shown that universal healthcare can deliver better outcomes at a lower cost. We can learn from their successes and adapt their models to fit our own needs. It's about moving towards a system that's optimized for people, not profit. I really believe in optimizing for people.
And it's not just about healthcare. It's about addressing the social determinants of health, poverty, housing, education, access to healthy food. All of these factors play a crucial role in shaping our mental and physical well-being. We need a holistic approach that tackles these issues head-on.
All right, but those are huge, complex problems. How do we even begin to address them? I mean, poverty is a global issue, and there are no easy solutions.
We start by recognizing that poverty is a policy choice. We can choose to invest in programs that lift people out of poverty, job training, affordable housing, childcare, universal basic income. These are all proven strategies that can make a real difference. We can invest in proven strategies rather than reacting to consequences from a messed up healthcare system.
And we need to challenge the narrative that these programs are handouts. They're investments in our collective future. A healthy, educated population is a productive population. It's good for the economy, it's good for society, and it's the right thing to do.
Okay, but even if we address all of these systemic issues, there will still be people who struggle with mental illness. How do we ensure that they get the care they need, especially those who are marginalized or vulnerable?
We need to prioritize culturally competent care. That means training mental health professionals who understand the unique challenges faced by different communities, who can speak their language, who can build trust and rapport. We need to meet people where they are, not expect them to navigate a system that was designed for someone else.
Yes, and we need to empower individuals to take control of their own mental health. That means providing access to education, resources, and support networks. It means promoting self-care practices, mindfulness techniques, and healthy coping mechanisms. I feel like if Mangione was in a different health space, this all would never happen.
All right, but how do we reach people who are resistant to seeking help? People who are ashamed or afraid, or who simply don't believe in mental health treatment?
We need to build trust. We need to partner with community leaders, with trusted messengers who can help us reach those who are most reluctant to seek help. We need to demonstrate that mental health care is not a threat, but a source of support and empowerment. Healthcare should be seen as a gift, not a chore.
And we need to challenge the stigma associated with mental illness. We need to share stories of recovery, of resilience, of hope. We need to show people that it's possible to live a full and meaningful life, even with a mental health condition.
All of this sounds incredibly ambitious, but I still think there are some fundamental limitations to what the healthcare system can achieve. People's choices and lifestyles play a huge role in their health outcomes, and you can't force people to make healthy choices.
No, you can't force people, but you can create an environment that makes healthy choices easier. You can provide access to healthy food, safe places to exercise, and affordable healthcare. You can create a culture that values prevention and promotes well-being. You can optimize healthcare so that it is an advantage, not a hurdle.
And you can challenge the forces that push people towards unhealthy choices. The marketing of junk food, the glorification of violence, the relentless pressure to consume and achieve. We need to create a society that values human connection, creativity, and purpose.
I agree that those are important goals, but I still think that individual responsibility is paramount. We can't expect the government to solve all of our problems. We need to take ownership of our own health and well-being.
It's not about the government solving all our problems. It's about creating a system that supports individuals in making healthy choices, a system that levels the playing field and provides everyone with the opportunity to thrive, a system that isn't focused on profit.
Yes, and it's about building a movement of people who are committed to creating a healthier, more equitable society, a movement that demands change, that challenges the status quo, and that refuses to accept anything less than a system that values human life above all else. Mangione's case, though tragic, is our call to arms to fix the healthcare system.
I still think a revolution is a bit much, but I agree that the healthcare system needs improvement, and I'm willing to consider new ideas and approaches, as long as they're grounded in reality and take into account the complexities of the system.
That's all we can ask for. A willingness to engage in honest, open-minded dialogue, to challenge our assumptions, and to work together to create a better future. Because ultimately, that's what it's all about, building a society where everyone has the opportunity to live a healthy, fulfilling life. And that's prioritizing health over wealth.
Absolutely. A society where tragedies like the Mangione case become a distant memory, a stark reminder of a system that failed, and a catalyst for a future where human well-being is truly valued above all else.
Well, on that note, I think we should wrap things up. It's been a thought-provoking discussion, and I appreciate the opportunity to share my perspective, even if we don't always agree.
Absolutely. Thank you both for your insights, and thank you to our listeners for joining us on this journey. Remember, health over wealth. Until next time.
Take care, everyone, and keep fighting for a better world.